us pray. Lord, the God of righteousness and truth, grant to our King and his government, to members of the Legislative Assembly, and to all in positions of responsibility, the guidance of your Spirit. May they never lead the province wrongly through love of power, desire to please, or unworthy ideals, but laying aside all private interests and prejudices, keep in mind their responsibility to seek to improve the condition of all. Amen. Amen. Please be seated.
Introduction of visitors. Introduction of guests.
The member for Airdrie Cochrane.
Mr. Speaker, through you, I would like to introduce grade 6 students, parents, and teachers from C.W. Perry School in Airdrie. Please rise and receive the warm reception of the Legislature.
Edmonton Riverview, or McClung, as it were. Yes.
I'm pleased to rise and through you introduce students, staff, and teachers from the wonderful school, C.W. Perry School, and sorry, that was Grandview Heights School in Edmonton Riverview. C.W. Perry is also welcome here. Please rise and receive a warm welcome to the House.
The Minister of Mental Health and Addiction.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm so honoured today to introduce to you and through you very good friends of mine, Ken Aluk and Clayton Auger of Big Stone Cree Nation and AJ Starlight of Tsuut'ina Nation. They are here today to discuss the importance of providing mental health and addiction supports for Indigenous communities. I ask them now to please rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
The member for Calgary Glenmore.
My honour to introduce through you and to everybody in the Assembly, Nicole Smith and Butch Smith from Rimbey, Alberta. They have a bison farm, and it's an honour to have you. Please rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
The Minister of Technology and Innovation.
Sorry, he's not here today.
Okay, the member for Fort Saskatchewan, Bagerville.
Speaker, I rise today to introduce to you and to all the members of the Assembly from the Heart and Stroke Foundation, Jennifer Michaud, Samantha Semper, Dr. Jonathan Duff, Dr. Alan DeCane, Eric McVeigh, Patrick Sherbick, Lorraine Moak, Kim Ruther, and Sarah Logan. I ask that they please rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
The Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, in the gallery today we have Dana Severson and representatives of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce, as well as representatives from local chambers in St. Albert, Okotoks, Airdrie, High River, Grand Prairie, Red Deer, Fort McMurray, Leduc and Nisku, Southeast Alberta and Peace River. Also in the gallery are officials from the Saskatchewan Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for all the great work you do promoting local businesses in our communities. Please rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Member for Edmonton McClung.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Speaker. I rise to introduce to you and through you all members of the Assembly a tireless advocate for those on disabilities and on ACE support, Tara Carlson, and I invite her to please stand and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
The member for Grand Prairie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise and introduce to you and through you and to this Assembly Brent and Susan Bibby, along with Nina Wright, all long-term influencers in the Grand Prairie area. I ask you please rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Edmonton Riverview, did you have an announcement? No? Okay. Are there any other announcements? Yes, Airdrie East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honour to rise and introduce to you and through you to all members of this Assembly a very good friend of mine from Airdrie, who also happens to be one of our most beloved grade 6 teachers in Airdrie, Mr. Brian Jackson. Please rise and receive the traditional warm welcome of this Assembly.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Falconridge.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to introduce to you and through you to all members of the Assembly, Avan Raj Virmani, an inspiring 8-year-old Albertan whose generosity, determination and empathy rallied community support and raised funds for those in need at Alberta Children's Hospital. His leadership is a powerful reminder of the capability and bright future of our youth. I ask that he rise to receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Are there? Yes, there is. Edmonton Glenora.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm happy to introduce Patrick Sherbrack, who's in the gallery today, a constituent of Edmonton Glenora, and today he's here advocating for AEDs in every single school. Cost about $2,500 per school. We only need about $2,000 to cover all of Alberta. So thank you, Patrick, for your advocacy.
Grand Prairie.
Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Speaker. And to you and through you, I want to introduce to you Wendy Bosch, Lori Pollock, Jason Howlish, all members of our Grand Prairie Chamber. I would please ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Speaker, I'd like to introduce to you and through to members of this Assembly another good friend of mine from Airdrie, also happens to be the Executive Director of the Airdrie Chamber, Marilyn Eilhouse. Please rise and receive the traditional warm welcome of this Assembly.
Medicine Hat, Cyprus.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to introduce to you and through you Lisa Dressler from the Medicine Hat Chamber of Commerce and my dear friend Aaron Fleming as well. Please rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
The Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, you see the conundrum we're in because I have a constituent here from the Chamber, Mr. Lane Gardner, who's not only a small business owner, a father and a community builder, and I want everyone to receive, to offer the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Conundrum solved because we're out of time.
Ministerial statements. Member statements.
The Honourable Member for Calgary, Edgemont.
Happy International Women's Day. We celebrate the achievements, leadership, resilience, brilliance, and strength of women demonstrate every day. And we must confront the challenges that continue to shape women's lives and their choices. Every day, not just today, we must affirm our shared responsibility to advance equality, diverse representation. As leaders entrusted with serving this province, we must not just simply acknowledge barriers, but actively dismantle them, champion equality, and encourage others to do better. Alberta still struggles with a persistent gender-based wage gap, the largest one in Canada. In this province, women earn 82 cents for every dollar earned by men. At a time when Albertans are already navigating an affordability crisis, these disparities force real and difficult choices about housing, food, education, childcare, and long-term stability. Closing the wage gap is not only a social responsibility, but it's also an economical priority. Fair wages strengthen families, grow communities, and fuel the prosperity across the entire province. Improving access to informed and timely affordable health care is essential if women want to have autonomy in every aspect of their life. Alberta is a land of opportunity and possibility, where everyone with a dream should be welcomed, supported, and empowered to succeed. Young girls in this province must be free to discover who they are and reach their full potential. I am proud to stand on this side of the House, where we work to advance the rights of women, to expand choice and opportunity rather than restrict them, and commit ourselves to lifting each other up. When I look at our caucus, I see diversity, determination, inspiration, and a shared commitment to do better. It is our intention to make this province better than how we found it, stronger, fairer, safer, and more inclusive. We will make it better together.
Yes. The member for Cyprus, Medicine Hat.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Each year, more than 300 acute care inpatients from southern Alberta must be transferred to Calgary to access cardiac intervention services, and approximately 1,000 outpatients are required to travel to Calgary for the same care. For patients and families in southern Alberta, that means added stress during what is already a difficult health journey. This is why we are taking action, and I'm excited for Budget 2026 to strengthen cardiac and critical care in southern Alberta. and ensure more Albertans receive specialized care closer to home. If passed, Budget 2026 will invest $59 million over the next 3 years to advance the South Zone Cardiac and Intensive Care Expansion Project. This investment moves the projects into the next phase, advancing detailed planning and early construction. A key component of this project is the addition of a new cardiac catheterization lab in Chinook Regional Hospital in Lethbridge. This facility will improve access to life-saving cardiac care and strengthen the region's ability to treat complex conditions. Once operational, the lab is expected to serve 1,500 to 1,700 patients per year. This project is also expanding critical care capacity across southern Alberta. It is expected to bring a total number of critical care beds to 54 at the Chinook Regional Hospital and 18 at the Medicine Hat Regional Hospital. Existing intensive care and cardiac units in both hospitals will be renovated and incorporated into a new innovative acute care bed model that allows care teams to respond more efficiently to patients with varying levels of medical needs. In addition, the project will enhance diagnostic capacities at both hospitals by expanding access to cardiac imaging, CT, and MRI services closer to home. Mr. Speaker, by strengthening cardiac care, expanding critical care capacities, we are moving health forward right here in Alberta with care at the right place at the right time.
The honourable member for Edmonton-Whitemud.
Days ago, the Assembly of Treaty Chiefs unanimously passed a vote of non-confidence in the UCP government. Why? Well, because the UCP is supporting a separatism petition that a court has determined contravenes treaty rights. Yesterday, those same chiefs were treated with disrespect by the UCP government when their concerns were brought to this House at the chiefs' request by the official opposition. What was remarkable is that when responding to questions about this vote of non-confidence by the chiefs, there were 2 words the Premier didn't say once. No, it wasn't Justin Trudeau. Of course she brought him up. No, the 2 words the Premier could not bring herself to say was treaty rights. With all those chiefs in the Assembly, the Premier had the chance to assert her commitment to uphold the treaty rights that all Albertans are bound by, to acknowledge the chief's statement of non-confidence in her government and pledge how she will earn back their confidence. Instead, as Chief Alan Adam of Athabasca Chippewa Nation said to the media afterwards, she didn't even have the courtesy to look up at the chiefs. And as Chief Kelsey Jacko of Cold Lake said, she keeps saying we have a great relationship, but how do you have a great relationship with someone who doesn't listen? And then the government House leader stood in front of those chiefs and called their presence in this House, the People's House, a political stunt. Chief Sunshine of Sturgeon Lake said, "We've just witnessed what the UCP really think of First Nations. When they minimize First Nations and call this non-confidence vote by the Alberta Chiefs a stunt by the NDP, I take that personally, and every treaty person all across this land should take notice of what's happening today. What's happening is a Premier who won't acknowledge treaty rights. What's happening is a UCP government who treats the Chiefs of Alberta with disdain. What's happening is a separatist government that needs to learn one thing when it comes to the First Nations of this land: show some respect."
The honourable member for Vermilion, Lloydminster, Wainwright.
Mr. Speaker, fossil fuels are important to Alberta's economy. This is no secret. For generations, these resources have been a pillar of our province's prosperity, supporting families, communities, and industries across Alberta. A fossil fuel appreciation day would be a thoughtful way to acknowledge the tremendous impact of these resources have had on the development of modern society and on the growth of our province. Oil, coal, and natural gas have powered not only Alberta, but the global economy for well over a century. Much of the infrastructure, technology, and economic strength we rely on today was built and sustained by the reliable energy provided by these resources. From heating homes to fueling transportation, and from supporting manufacturing to enabling innovation, fossil fuels have played a foundational role in shaping the world we live in. Mr. Speaker, a day to recognize these abundant energy resources would also serve to highlight the countless workers whose dedication and expertise have kept essential systems running efficiently and safely. Their hard work keeps our hospitals supplied with power, keeps our homes warm through the cold winters, and ensures that industries across Alberta continue to thrive. A Fossil Fuel Appreciation Day would also encourage informed, constructive dialogue about energy in our province. By better understanding the historical impact of fossil fuels, we can more effectively discuss the challenges of meeting future energy demands and opportunities that lie ahead. This day could also provide an important chance for schools, industry partners, and community organizations to educate Albertans about how our energy system works and why that matters, and how they would be operated to perform at their best. Ultimately, Mr. Speaker, such a day would allow Albertans to honour the past, acknowledge the present, and thoughtfully plan for the future of energy in our province.
The honourable member for Calgary Currie.
This past Saturday, I co-hosted a budget town hall with my colleague from Calgary Elbow, and I was so thankful to everyone who came to ask questions and share their comments and concerns. Attendees had one question on top of their mind: where under this UCP government has all the money gone? How has government spent so much and has so little to show for it? What's worse is that where cuts were made, they were made on the backs of the poor, the disabled, and the elderly. They're cutting $44 million by removing people from income support. They're cutting $23 million by reducing eligibility for the seniors benefit. And they slashed $5 million in funding for AISH and ADAP programs. These cuts are cruel and they are wrong. Let's move on to my hometown of Calgary. The UCP government has saddled the average Calgary homeowner with an annual increase of $360 in education property taxes to pay for schools their children may never see. And highlighted by Alberta municipalities, there was no increase to FCSS funding and no increase to the city's infrastructure funding pot. This in a city that welcomed more residents in 1 year than there are in Red Deer. The UCP government is happy to intervene in municipal affairs at their leisure: the Flames Arena, the Green Line, bike lanes, development processes, and social service funding. They interfere when it's politically or ideologically convenient, but if it's not, the province's bigger city may just be out of luck. When I'm door-knocking in Calgary Currie, I meet the odd person who says that they are socially progressive and fiscally conservative, and I ask them where they plan to lend their vote in that case, because the UCP are neither. They have made the situation so much worse, with a government caucus intent on stoking separatism to save their own political skin. The UCP government is bad with money. They have squandered some of the best economic conditions in a generation through a culture of entitlement and spending with impunity. International conflict that temporarily raises the price of oil won't solve the issue. The only thing that will is a change in government.
The honourable member for Calgary Northeast.
Everybody is talking about it, Mr. Speaker. Our inboxes are swamped, said the head of Calgary Chamber of Commerce about the growing threat of separatism, which is sending a chill through Calgary's business community. The economic heart of our province is quivering in fear, a fear that this UCP government is letting grow because of their constant refusal to denounce separatism. 83% of businesses surveyed said that constant separatist discourse was placing Alberta at a higher risk of recession and delayed or cancelled projects. 74% of businesses surveyed said that separatism would lead to relocation outside of Alberta. And hundreds of businesses rank Alberta separatism as the top issue that they are facing in 2026, ahead of US tariffs, ahead of new pipeline capacity. Nancy Southern, the CEO of ETCO, said last summer that separatism was already hurting the investment environment, and this is before a referendum has been scheduled. Why won't this UCP government slam the brakes on separatism? Calgary businesses are crying out, Mr. Speaker, but this government is not listening. Instead, they are hammering Calgarians with new taxes and fees, while stoking separatist sentiment that will chill business confidence and drive companies out of this province. If referendum goes ahead, which companies is the UCP prepared to leave Alberta? This UCP government needs to make a clear choice. Join us on Team Alberta and denounce separatism, or stay on Team Separation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, it is now 1:50, which means it's time for oral question period, and the first question belongs to the Leader of the Official Opposition.
Big day yesterday, Mr. Speaker. Lots of interesting moments. But one of the most interesting moments came when the Premier and the Minister of Justice made it clear that they would not allow any unconstitutional questions to reach a referendum ballot. But here's the thing. The separatist question, the one they're gathering signatures for in Yuma, Arizona and Puerto Vallarta, is unconstitutional. A judge told us that. So can the Premier confirm today that she will never allow that question to reach a referendum ballot?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The citizen initiative process is meant to be permissive. It's meant to allow citizens to get together and see if their fellow citizens are interested in putting a question forward for a vote. It's not meant to have any gatekeepers stop them in that process. The job of government is to make sure that any issue that was voted on by the people of Alberta, that we implement it in a constitutional way. We're several steps away from that, Mr. Speaker. We're watching the processes play out, and we will see if the requisite number of signatures are achieved by May 6th.
Honourable member.
So that answer leads to a very simple question. What the heck is the point?
Yeah.
This government passed a law explicitly allowing people to gather signatures for questions they will never put on a ballot.
Yeah.
They're wasting their time, they're wasting their money because this Premier is pandering. She's pandering to them, pretending to be one of them, maybe she is one of them, but helping them waste their time in doing something that will never actually succeed. So can the Premier confirm today to her separatist base that this is all a charade, that she's letting them waste their time and money, and she has no intention of putting this on a ballot?
Mr. Speaker, public participation in a democratic process is never a waste of time. I think it's important that we respect those who are taking the time to go out and to vet these ideas by their fellow citizens. And that is the reason why we have citizen-initiated referenda. It's the reason why we have a permissive process around recall, is so that citizens have the ability to talk with their fellow citizens and gauge their level of support for different ideas. That's the whole point of it, Mr. Speaker. We support democracy on this side of the House.
The honourable member.
That is an extraordinary statement of contempt for citizens, saying you're going to do this work, but we don't care, just go and do your thing. But let's follow a different thread here. Yesterday,
we heard the answer. Let's hear the next question. Go ahead.
Yesterday, we heard from one of the treaty chiefs that the member for Bonnyville, Cold Lake, St. Paul admitted to him to being a separatist and intimated that he actually signed the petition. Fascinating, because meanwhile, the government House Leader said being called separatist is an insult. So can the Premier confirm how many other members of her caucus are separatists?
Yeah.
The Honourable the Premier.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The whole point of a petition campaign is to make sure that the signatures are kept confidential. That's the reason why a petitioner is not allowed to keep the signatures afterwards. And I have to say that anyone who is suggesting that any person has their name on that list without the person's permission is probably violating the spirit and the intent of the legislation. Because I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, none of my MLAs have indicated to me that they have signed. What they have said is that they support sovereignty within a united Canada. That is the position of this government, and that's the position of our caucus.
The second set of questions belongs to the Leader of the Official Opposition.
When someone asks you if you're a separatist, there's a simple answer: no. And no member of this government has been able to do that.
Yeah.
But this government, in addition to that, is terrible with money. They have historically high royalty revenues. They've got one of the biggest deficits in history, spending so much with so little to show for it. The Premier will blame everybody for this. She'll blame Justin Trudeau, she'll blame immigrants, she'll blame chemtrails, she'll blame the World Economic Forum. What she won't do is take responsibility. So let's give her a chance to do that. Does the Premier have any plan to make life more affordable?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We already have. We advocated to get rid of the carbon tax with that party put in place, in which their federal counterparts advocated to increase, which just save people at the pump and save people on on their home heating. Our excellent Minister of Affordability and Utilities brought the prices down from 32 cents a kilowatt hour caused by their terrible policies to phase out coal too early and bring on an unsustainable amount of wind and solar that did not have enough backup. We're now down to averaging about 3.7 cents a kilowatt hour, Mr. Speaker. So time and time again, we have demonstrated that when we hear what the public is concerned about, we answer, Mr. Speaker.
Well, let's hear the question and the answer. Go ahead, honourable member.
Her own caucus is heckling her, Mr. Speaker, which is fascinating because, of course, life is much more unaffordable for Albertans.
That's right.
And if she wants to go out and tell Albertans she's made their life affordable, she's welcome to do so. But they can't balance a budget because they say the price of oil is low. But the price of gas has remained historically high. Last week, Albertans saw a 16-cent per litre increase in one day. But the Premier says she can't give tax relief because of a technicality in the law. If the price of gas remains high, will she give people relief now?
Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Clearly, the member opposite hasn't filled up with gas very often in the last year, because what he will have seen is that at times it got down below $1, and that's how it's supposed to work. Because when prices are low, it goes down. When prices go up and they average above $80, that's when we start taking the fuel tax off. If it gets above 90 for a 3-month period, it comes off altogether. We're watching the prices with great interest, Mr. Speaker. We have only been 1 week into the disruption in prices. The long-term trend, I would invite the member opposite to look, is still low. It's still 62 for WTI.
The honourable member.
So now we've heard from the Premier, hey Albertans, life is affordable and you're not paying too much for gas. Right. Great quotes there. Yeah. This budget consists of higher taxes, higher fees, reduced services, and a giant deficit. That is quite a trick. There is nothing in there to reduce the cost of living for Albertans. There is nothing in there to make Albertans' life easier or better. And last week, the Premier said our social programs are way too generous because seniors and people with disabilities don't deserve prosperity. Will she take responsibility for destroying the Alberta Advantage? Yeah.
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Alberta Advantage is no sales tax, and we still have no sales tax, Mr. Speaker. We've got no payroll tax. We've got no health care tax. We've got the lowest personal income taxes in the country. We brought through a $1,500 per family decrease in personal income taxes. We have the lowest fuel tax in the country. We also brought through, with cooperation with the federal government, a child care program that subsidizes families with kids, $1,000 per child, which is a huge burden off of families with children, Mr. Speaker. And I've already mentioned utility prices have come down.
The Honourable Official Opposition Leader.
She now, of course, is taking credit for things she opposed her entire career, Mr. Speaker. But the other thing that she favoured her entire career, she tells us, is the Constitution. And yesterday we heard members go on and on and on about the sanctity of the Constitution, notwithstanding the fact that they passed 4 unconstitutional laws last fall. And it's been coupled with an unprecedented attack on lawyers, on judges, and on the rule of law. Does this government only like the Constitution and only like judges when it benefits them?
Hear, hear.
Premier.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I think the professor needs to read the Constitution because he'll find out that Section 33 is a part of the Constitution. And the reason it is there is because we recognize parliamentary supremacy. We recognize the supremacy of the legislature. And the reason for that is the legislatures are the democratically elected body. It is us who has to stand for re-election. And when we make a judgment that the people want a particular type of law enacted in a particular type of way and the court disagrees, we use the section of the Constitution that allows us to preserve that law.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Her maiden speech in this House was about how rights are inalienable and no legislature can take them away. Right. And today she tells us she and her government are supreme over the people.
That's right.
So what she's saying is that is not quite right. So what we know, let's talk about judges for a second, shall we? We've talked a lot about Liberal-appointed judges, except when they agree with the Premier. and the only Albertans who count are Albertans appointed by the UCP. The government has attacked the Law Society, they've raided the funds of the Alberta Law Foundation, they politicized the law. Why?
Premier.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. What we do on this side of the chamber is that we listen to what the people of Alberta want us to do, and then we pass legislation consistent with that. And we make sure that we're always balancing rights, Mr. Speaker, because we balance the rights of kids who have a right to an education. We balance as well the rights of those who want to go out and do collective bargaining and also strike, but that also has to be balanced against the impact it's going to have on society as a whole. That's the role of elected officials, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to continue to play that role and do that balance.
This time, let's hear the question and the answer. Go ahead, Nolan.
It's rare to see the Premier this rattled by a question, because it goes down to her fundamental hypocrisy. Now let's remember that 3 Conservative Justice Ministers in a row were investigated by the Law Society, and the 4th one shamelessly stood up in this House to give himself immunity from that, and they removed the ability of the Law Society to require lawyers to take mandatory Indigenous training. This means less access to justice for people every single day. Why does this government think it's above the law, and why do they want to remake the law?
Order. Premier.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Much as I appreciate the member opposite mansplaining to me what he thinks I mean when I say something, I'm very clear about what our position as government is. The job that we have here in the legislature is to pass laws. We go out into the public, we will consult on issues, and then we pass legislation. We have different ideas about how that legislation should be enacted, and sometimes the court disagrees with our approach, at which point we have to make a judgment of whether or not we're truly representing the people, and we always will put the people first.
Order! Speaking of order, a point of order was noted at 2:01. The next question belongs to the member for Edmonton Mill Woods.
Mr. Speaker, in a recent survey of businesses by the Calgary Chamber of Commerce, owners had little optimism about their futures as threats of separation hang over the province. 83% worry separation could bring on a recession, cancel projects, and reduce investment. They worry about difficulty attracting staff and fear they may have to move their businesses. Alberta businesses depend on stability and predictability, but all they get from the UCP is chaos. Why does this government continue to encourage separatism when it's clearly hurting Alberta's economy?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I will begin by saying the only people in this chamber talking about separatism are the members opposite. The real problem we have here is that the members opposite have an issue.
Let's, I thought, didn't have any trouble at all here in the question, or let's hear the answer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It would appear that the professor opposite has a problem with other people talking in this chamber and having a different opinion. It seems a real top-down approach. Maybe he needs to take a look at that and how his leadership is. But what I would say, Mr. Speaker, is in this chamber, we believe very strongly that Albertans should have a say on very important matters that they're concerned about in this province.
Just waiting for your leader to finish so that you can answer your question. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, the government House Leader is talking about in this chamber, and I am talking about Alberta businesses who are talking about very real concerns, and I believe we have guests from chambers in this House. We and they have seen this all before. When the threat of separation shook Quebec, many businesses left that province. Calgary business leaders are warning that the same drain has already started happening here. Investments are reconsidered and economic growth is slowing, all while this government encourages the separatists and their harmful agenda. Why is the UCP making Alberta a riskier place to invest?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we take the feedback from the Chambers of Commerce very seriously, including their members. And I can assure their members that our government is focused on making sure their lives are easier by cutting regulation, keeping taxes low, and continuing to promote Alberta here in Canada, North America, and around the world. Mr. Speaker, and that reason, we've seen record investment in this province, including $75 million with the Coca-Cola Bottling Company. Dow Chemical is moving ahead with an $11 billion project. Mr. Speaker, investment is coming to Alberta because they know we're the best place in Canada to do it.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Government has been focused on is cozying up to groups with harmful ideas. They should be focused on making Alberta a safe jurisdiction for investment. Just yesterday, Alberta's treaty chiefs came here to send a message that they no longer trust this UCP government. Without the chiefs' confidence and without the confidence of Calgary businesses, it is clear this Premier is simply not running Alberta well. Will the Premier finally denounce separatism and start rebuilding confidence in Alberta as a place to live, work, and invest in?
Strathmore, Chestermere, I don't think you were recognized to speak just now. Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'll begin with a quote from Avik Day, President of Capital Power Corporation, who said, "We continue to be excited about it, and frankly, more excited today than we've ever been at this point in time, and that's about the province of Alberta and the prospects of investment. The only threat to this province in investment, in job growth, and creation is the members opposite ever becoming government again. While they were in power from 2015 to 2019, they had the NDP leader in the mayor's seat in Calgary, Justin Trudeau in Ottawa, and Rachel Notley Premier at the Triple Black Swan event, and it drove investment out of this province."
The order. Calgary Buffalo, who I don't think was recognized. The fourth question belongs to Calgary Beddington.
The UCP government trampled the constitutional rights of Alberta's teachers, using the notwithstanding clause to force them back into overcrowded, under-resourced classrooms. 5 months later, undervalued, hopeless, demoralized. That's how teachers feel. When asked in a survey, only 2% reported feeling hopeful about classroom conditions going forward. Teachers have been disrespected by this government, so what does the minister have to say to thousands of burnt-out teachers?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister of Education and Children's Services.
Sorry.
Mr.
Oh, okay. Oh, I. All right. Now that we've straightened out who has what title, and the one that gets called actually gets to speak, let's hear from the Minister of Education and Children's Services.
Well, I greatly appreciate the member opposite apologizing in advance for whatever it was that she was going to do. That being said, Mr. Speaker, after 3 weeks of job action and parties no closer to resolving the disagreement that we had, it was necessary for us to take the steps that we did to get students back into the classroom. We have to ensure students' best interests are at the forefront of our decision making, which is precisely why we've taken the steps that we did to ensure students get back into the classroom.
Calgary Beddington.
Given teachers are struggling to keep up the good fight against burnout, overcrowded classrooms, funding shortages, and a public education system that is not meeting the needs of its students, given that 1/3 of teachers plan to retire early, leave the profession entirely, or flee this province for one that respects and values the work they do, to the minister, the government failed epically to meet the hiring target for teachers last year. How on earth do you plan to meet your targets this year?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud of the education system that we have in this province. We have a world-class education system, and that's evidenced, of course, by the incredible results that our students perform in global international rankings. We rank, apart from just globally, we rank the best in Canada in science and reading and math and in many other categories. That being said, Mr. Speaker, we are making record new investments, including a 7% increase this year alone in operating funding to our schools, and an $8.6 billion initiative to build more schools in every corner of the province.
The honourable member, Edmund Calgary-Bennington.
Given that teachers have said, quote, "It feels like we're alone," and you go home feeling like you fail your students every day, and I feel totally hopeless, unquote. Given losing teachers when we're already short-staffed will have massive impacts on students, the labour market, and the broader economy, will anyone in this government accept responsibility for driving public education into a state of total chaos?
Minister.
Our education system is not in any state of total chaos, as the member opposite would suggest. Our students are performing incredibly well against global standards. We are taking steps, of course, to help recruit and retain more individuals. We graduate on average about 2,000 students from our B.Ed programs every year. We certify an additional 800 coming in from other provinces. We have the highest take-home pay in Western Canada for our teachers, and as well, we've just dispatched over 476 complexity teams to help address complexity issues and alleviate some teacher workload.
The next question belongs to the honourable member for Lacombe-Panoka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In southern Alberta, approximately 300 acute inpatients must be transferred to Calgary each year to receive interventional cardiac services. In addition, nearly 1,000 outpatients must travel to Calgary to access the same care. For patients and their families, this often means long travel times, added stress, and time away from their communities during critical moments of care. Mr. Speaker, can the minister explain how Budget 2026 will strengthen cardiac care services in southern Alberta and ensure more patients can receive life-saving treatment closer to home?
Honourable, the Minister of Hospitals.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the member for the important question. If passed, Budget 2026 will invest $59 million over 3 years to advance the South Zone Cardiac and Intensive Care Expansion Project, including a new cardiac cath lab in Lethbridge and expanded critical care and diagnostic capacity in both Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. Together, these investments will significantly strengthen healthcare services in southern Alberta and ensure that more patients can access timely, specialized care closer to home. And, Mr. Speaker, that's good for everyone. Thank you.
Absolutely. Lacombe-Panoka.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and through you to the minister for that great response. Given that many southern Albertans currently must travel to Calgary to access their critical cardiac care, can the minister please expand and explain how the new cardiac catheterization lab at Chinook Regional Hospital will help patients in Lethbridge and the surrounding area, including approximately how many patients it is expected to serve once fully operational?
The minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and again to the member for the question. If passed, Budget 2026 will advance the new cardiac cath lab at Chinook Regional Hospital into the next phase, which includes detailed planning and early construction. Once fully operational, it's expected to serve between 1,500 and 1,700 patients each year, helping Albertans in Lethbridge and across southern Alberta in rural and remote communities access critical cardiac care more quickly, reducing hours of travel and ensuring care is available closer to home when the minutes matter, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member.
Again, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and through you to the minister for that. Another great answer. Given the growing demand for cardiac and critical care services in southern Alberta, and recognize the important role that both Lethbridge and Medicine Hat play in supporting patients across that region, could the minister please outline how Budget 2026 will expand critical care capacity at Chinook Regional Hospital and Medicine Hat Regional Hospital, including how many additional critical care beds will be added at each site?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If passed, Budget 2026 will expand Southern Alberta's critical care capacity to 54 beds at the Chinook Regional Hospital and 18 beds at the Medicine Hat Regional Hospital. The project also includes upgrades to cardiac diagnostics, CT and MRI imaging, redeveloped intensive care and cardiac care units, and an acuity adaptable bed model at both sites. Together, these investments will ensure more Albertans in southern Alberta can receive timely specialized care, and this is part of the 300 beds that are currently under construction and 2,000 acute care beds that are in design or planning.
The honourable member for Edmonton City Centre.
On February 24th, a handcuffed suspect escaped the custody of Alberta sheriffs, stole their patrol vehicle and drove away. Fortunately, they were supported by the RCMP, who used their real-time operations centre to track, intercept and disable the vehicle before it could enter Spruce Grove. The suspect has since been charged with assaulting a peace officer with a weapon, possession of a prohibited firearm and more. To the Minister of Public Safety, what steps is he taking to investigate the circumstances that led to this very real threat to public safety and ensure it never happens again?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, regardless whether you're a peace officer or a police officer, of course, we're all human beings. And I can tell you that certainly there are matters that are, of course, before the courts, and there are matters that are a matter of internal processes that I can tell you that Chief Parhar and his team are, of course, investigating to find out what may or may not have taken place. But I can tell you that there's a great relationship that is occurring right now between the RCMP and our Alberta sheriffs, and I would more than happy to get into that in the next question.
Honourable member.
Given the suspect's capture was thanks to the tools and technology in the RCMP's real-time operations centre, and given it's just one example of how they use the RTOC to collaborate with police services across the province to keep the public safe, and given I recently got to tour the RTOC at K Division, just 10 minutes north of here, and learned the minister apparently hasn't yet had the opportunity to respond to multiple invitations to do the same. To the Minister of Public Safety, will he tour the RTOC and talk with RCMP about the key role it plays in coordinating collaborative policing across the province?
Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services.
So, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to presuppose what anybody did in their previous career, but I actually used to work in a real-time operations centre as a staff sergeant, Mr. Speaker, and I had talked to the Deputy Commissioner. I'm fully aware of what they do. It is consistent with the work that I used to do when I was the staff sergeant in the Calgary Police Service, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member.
Given that sounds like a no, but given that on my tour of the RTOC, I learned the RCMP have set aside a desk for an Alberta Sheriff's communications operator to improve collaboration, allow seamless communication between the two services.
Order. I'd like to hear the question. Please give yourself 10 more seconds and go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that on my tour of the RTOC, I learned the RCMP have set aside a desk for an Alberta Sheriff's communications operator to improve collaboration and allow seamless communication between the two services. And given they told me their work with Alberta Sheriffs to assign an operator was suddenly cut off when the minister announced his brand new Alberta Sheriff's Police Service. Given that desk has sat empty ever since due to a lack of funding or action from the provincial government, to the Minister of Public Safety, why is he refusing to work collaboratively with the RCMP on a service that plays such a key role in keeping Albertans safe?
Why don't you just go there?
The Minister.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Speaker, what the member is not telling this chamber, and of course the people of Alberta, is that there was a very important multi-agency effort that fanned across 34 communities, led by 118 arrest warrants. 49 fugitives were apprehended. And let me quote the RCMP, Mr. Speaker. Operations like this demonstrate the strength and collaboration between policing partners across Alberta. By working alongside the Alberta Sheriffs and the Edmonton Police Service, we're able to share information, coordinate efforts, and hold offenders accountable. This is what cooperation is, Mr. Speaker.
Is the clock working? Table officers? Order! Is the clock working? Because I didn't see anything there. Okay, anyways, the honourable member from Edmonton Gold Bar.
Since 2020, grocery prices in Alberta have increased by almost 50%, and prices continue to remain sky-high for Alberta families. Yet this UCP government has failed for years to take action on affordability and instead continues to pile on costs to Albertans, from new fee increases to raising the price of auto insurance. To the Minister, enough is enough. Why does this government think that Albertans can always be squeezed for a little bit more?
Was there a point of order a minute ago? There was. Okay, point of order was noted at 2:18. The Honourable Minister of Affordabilities and Utility.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud to be part of a government that seeks every ministry to help with the affordability of Albertans and putting their needs first, which is why we brought forward a tax cut to make sure that every working individual and every working couple can receive $750 to $1,500 a year off their taxes. That's why we're working on bringing in a Care First model for insureds to lower those bills. That's why we've worked on utility prices, fixing the messes left behind by the NDP to lower utility prices by 63% from their peak. We continue to put Albertans first, and we continue to meet their needs on a daily basis.
The Honourable Member.
Thank you. Given that Edmonton City Council is studying a motion to end the practice of restrictive covenants on grocery store sites that cause food deserts across our city, and given that this UCP government is piling on new fees, raising the cost of living for every Albertan across the province, why won't the UCP follow the lead of our cities and take real action on affordability by banning restrictive covenants on sites owned by grocery stores?
The Honourable Minister of Red Tape Reduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm happy to say that we've seen what other jurisdictions in Canada have done on restrictive covenants in grocery stores, specifically Manitoba. We're currently going through their legislation. We're talking to Albertans. We're hearing what they have to say, and we're monitoring it closely. If we need to take action, certainly we will. Yeah.
Honourable Member.
Given that my constituents can't take monitoring closely to the grocery store to pay for their groceries, and given that minimum wage workers haven't seen wage increases in years, making it harder for them to afford the cost of groceries, and given that life keeps getting more expensive under this UCP government, and given the Premier remains more focused on separatism than affordability, when will the UCP finally give minimum wage earners a break and raise the minimum wage?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's two ways to deal with this. One, with the NDP, which is push on the highest minimum wage increase in the entire country all at once, affecting businesses and creating massive job losses across the entire sector. Or monitor the situation. Mr. Speaker, I hear the Leader of the Opposition digging into his bag in that script, the written script on his desk of heckles. I figure he should go a little lower there. Mr. Speaker, I tell you, on this side of the House, we are consulting businesses to make sure that we get this right, but also making sure there's jobs in this province, unlike the NDP, who drove those jobs out of Alberta.
Next question belongs to the Honourable Member for Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills.
Mr. Speaker, rural hospitals are the backbone of healthcare outside of our major cities like Calgary. However, many are operating with outdated infrastructure and have limited capacity. Budget 2026 includes significant investments in rural health, such as the Rural Hospital Enhancement Program, and major funding to improve emergency and surgical capacity across the province. To the Minister of Primary and Preventative Health Services, can you please explain how these province-wide rural health investments will directly improve access to care for residents in rural communities?
The Honourable Minister of Hospitals.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the member for her advocacy and question. If passed, Budget 2026 has numerous investments that will strengthen our rural hospitals. For example, the Rural Hospital Enhancement Program allocates $60 million over 2 years to target infrastructure gaps through planning and utilization of shelved spaces. In addition, the Alberta Surgical Initiative invests nearly $300 million over 3 years to open new operating rooms, renovate surgical spaces, and provide new equipment across Alberta, including in the member's constituency. Our government remains committed to ensuring high-quality care in rural Alberta.
You'll get your turn for a question at some point, I'm sure. The Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Minister for that excellent answer. Given that ambulance delays are a top concern in rural Alberta, because we know that faster response times save lives, and further given that rural residents are sometimes left waiting dangerously long times for EMT during emergencies. To the same Minister, how will the budget assist in improved ambulance deployment and rural staffing, and how will this translate into faster EMS response times in areas outside of major cities?
Good question.
Thank you.
Now that the Mutual Admiration Society is done, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the member for a question. We know that more must be done to reduce rural and remote EMS response times. That's why Budget 2026 increases EHS funding to about $1 billion if you include everything, supporting faster response times, recruitment and retention of paramedics, and expanded in-community transport solutions to keep EMS vehicles available for when they're really needed. In addition, $20 million will be made available through the EHS Vehicle Capital Program, which will replace aging ambulances, ensuring our fleet remains modern, ready, and responsive. And again, we're committed to doing better on EMS.
Speaker, and thank you again to the Minister for the answer. Given that many rural communities face family physician shortages, which can cause chronic conditions to worsen unnecessarily, and further given that access to a primary care physician is the entryway into our entire health system, to the Minister, how will the budget expand nurse practitioner-led primary care in rural communities, and how will physician recruitment help stabilize access to family doctors in Alberta?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the excellent question. If passed, Budget 2026 will invest $87 million over 3 years to expand the role of nurse practitioners and strengthen our primary health care in Alberta, as well to further strengthen care in rural and remote communities. Our government just ran a $16 million rural and remote family medicine resident physician bursary pilot to support family medicine residents in Alberta who commit to a 3-year return of service in our rural remote communities. We have 132 resident physicians who met that call.
The next question belongs to the Honourable Member for Calgary-Glenmore.
Mr. Speaker, Butch and Nicole Smith are hard-working Albertans who spent 30 years building a bison farm near Rimbey. After the Alberta Energy Regulator approved a fracking operation near them, their bison were stressed by around-the-clock construction noise. Most operators respect landowners, but there are bad actors, Mr. Speaker. For 18 months, the Smith family did everything right, appealed to the AR, reached to 4 UCP ministers, only to be ignored. What does the Premier have to say to these ranchers who did everything right and were still abandoned by their government?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Mining.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a lot of sympathy for Mr. Smith and his particular concerns. His situation, frankly, seems rather unprecedented, but I will say that I have exchanged texts with him, many phone calls, and have spoken with him at length in relation to it. He is having an issue with an energy company, Mr. Speaker, and I hope and expect the energy company will make a proposal to come up with a commercial resolution in relation to it. Separate from that, there are processes that the Alberta Energy Regulator for Mr. Smith can apply to, and there's a statement of concerns that he can put forward, and he should go through that process, and I'm sure he will.
Here. Honourable Member.
Given that the Smith family's losses are in the millions of dollars, given that industrial noise drove their bison into distress, animals running wildly, aborting and abandoning their